everybody, and welcome to episode 223 of the Lookout Sir Warhammer podcast, brought to you by me, Dan, and of course, everyone's best buddy, the greatest of all of mankind, Philip, surname withheld. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, thank you. I am everyone's best friend. Because I need all the friends in the world, because I'm desperately lonely.
Aw, Phil, what's happened to make you so lonely, buddy?
I don't know. It was just a skit, Dan. I wasn't meant to get serious, and
now
I know.
I thought
question my life choices.
I thought maybe you had a comedic kind of follow-up to it. Maybe you were going to talk about,
I wish I did, but the internal darkness took over.
Exactly. What I'm getting from that is that it all became a bit too real. You're like, oh God, actually, I am incredibly lonely.
I have no one to play with.
Oh, you've got your mate who's around the Oxford area. What's his name again? Old
George. He's moved off to Bristol now. He did pop back last week, so we played some Kill Team.
Oh God, you are really lonely, Phil. My God, I thought this was all a bit, but here it is. The harsh reality.
It's true. I have no one to even play Kill Team with.
Oh my God. You're just going to have to go out there in the world, Phil, and make more friends.
I'm going to have to go to the local gaming club. Don't make me, Dan. Don't make me.
You'll be a celebrity of sorts there, you know. The one person in there that knows that Lookout Sir is a thing. I'll be dead impressed.
Oh, that is true. They'd be like, oh, you Dan? Oh, you're not Dan.
Oh, you're not Dan. Oh, yeah, no.
You're the other one.
You're the other one. You're the lonely one. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, well, mate, there you go. You've always got me, buddy, for better or ill.
I know, that's true.
Until eventually I have to quit because of, various reasons. But I'm here for now,
Perfect. That's the kind of friendship I like. Absolutely. Here for now. But that's what all friendships are, mate. I could die tomorrow and then bam, what would you do, eh? Well, our friendship would be eternal to the grave.
Oh, we would have like a Mormon wedding style relationship at that point.
Well, I would be doing a seance every Wednesday night to record your voice via one of those weird radio tuners and get your input.
I mean, there's enough of me out there now. You could probably just put me in the AI.
I could just AI generate you, but I would make you very complimentary of whatever I say, where you're like, yes, Phil, you are 100% correct. Keep saying more.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure that would, serve our listeners greatly. Just more... Phil being right about everything. That's what we need. Anyway, what are we talking about episode 223, Phil?
It is a mixed bag of topics. We're predominantly sort of doing a little specialist game deep dive. So we talk about... we also talk about some events that we did. That's the first thing we talked about. Then we talked about a bit about Blood Bowl. Then we talked about the Old World. Then we talked about Warhammer Quest, because there's been some interesting reveals for that so far. And then we also had a little grumble about Games Workshop business practices. But, it wouldn't be a show without a little grumble towards Games Workshop every so often.
That's it, mate. That's it. You've got to have a little moan here and there. But not like our 5-star review friends. They've given us some great 5-star reviews of late. And obviously, if you'd like to be like them, please consider going on the various places where you can give us 5-star reviews and doing so. It's greatly appreciated. This week's 5-star review is going to come via Apple Podcasts of the United States of America. And it's from an individual called the Pacific Wave. And there's some numbers at the end, which I won't bother repeating. I assume Pacific Wave is enough for them to know who it is. So cheers to Pacific Wave, who gave us a great 5-star review, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But before we do that, we'll do the plugs, much like the 5-star review. Please do that. But also, if you can, support us on Patreon. That's massively helpful. Really means the world to us that people are supporting us on Patreon, and myself and Phil have kind of said that we're going to do our best to upweight what we're offering in that space as the weeks go on. I've got some personal stuff I've got to resolve over the next couple of weeks. Got some weddings and funerals I need to attend, so I'm pretty back to back, but we'll still be churning out the
4 weddings and a funeral.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
You're being Hugh Grant.
Well, indeed, although more funerals than weddings this year, unfortunately. But, say la vie. So, yeah, all of that going on. But, yeah, when we get out of that, so into, like, November time, we'll try and do something a bit more on that front. But, so consider supporting us on Patreon. That'd be amazing. Also, there's merch. Christmas is coming around the corner. Phil and myself haven't gotten off our bottoms and done any new Christmas stuff because we always say we will and never do. But, you know, there's stuff there. Check them out. Links in the description. Rev Level. Cool little business. Sell loads of really cool, awesome merchandise from all sorts of things. So, you know, if you're not interested in us, maybe just check out them in the general sense. But no pressure anyway. And that's it, I think, for plugs, right, Phil? Anything else we need to say, or should we just transition into a 5-star review?
You know, we love you all very much, but we love our Patreon listeners and supporters that little bit extra.
Absolutely. But, you know, not enough that we take the time to put their names on the content or shout them out in any way. But, you know, the love is there.
One day.
I don't know. It sort of, you know, creates a strange parasocial thing, you know. I like the model we have currently where people support us.
Everyone is equal.
Exactly. It's a beautiful thing.
Lookouts is a communist system.
Indeed. As it should be. Again.
Where we are the dictators.
Exactly. Ooh, the pyramid scheme. Anyway, let's get on to the 5-star review. Transitional noise. As was stated in the intro, this week's 5-star review comes via Pacific Wave, bunch of numbers that I'm not going to bother repeating, and they are based in Apple Podcasts of the United States. When did it stop being the United States of America, Phil? Is it just because of a search engine optimization space thing that they were like, it's too many words, we're just going to go with US when it comes to...
Oh, I can't say I noticed, so I don't know.
That's fair. I'm often confused, Phil, because obviously the country, the United States, or the United States of America, is the country, but then obviously people call it America. But then sometimes you get confused because people refer to America and they're including Canada, because obviously Canada is also in the continent of America.
Continent, yes.
I'm always very confused by the whole
America,
situation.
Yes.
It befuddles me, Phil. The language used to describe the US, I don't understand.
Don't worry, most people refer to Africa as if it's a country, but it's not.
That's true. So, and a lot of people, you know, refer to the United Kingdom as, you know, Great Britain as being like the same thing, but in actual fact it's the it's the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, isn't it, in its entirety?
Yeah, and a couple of little islands thrown in.
Oh yeah, we got a few little islands thrown in. All that remains from our empire, you know, the glory years.
No.
Well, you know, there we go. Maybe we'll get it back one day, Phil.
Yeah, that would be nice. Give it a go.
There you go. Give it a go. We can have what bit of the empire would you like back? Did we give up Gibraltar yet? Is that gone?
No, that's actually one of a few that's been ours.
Oh, there you go. You kept that one. That's good. So it means when you go over there, it's actually quite handy dandy.
Exactly. Nothing changes. It's all in pounds still.
Oh,
fantastic.
There you go. They drive on the left side of the road like proper people.
No, what? They actually drive on the wrong side of the road. Yeah, it's because of Spain, basically.
Spain, come on,
ruining it all.
Ruining it.
You lost the war. We should be on the other side of the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't remember many of the other places that we had back in the day, so I won't come up with any.
India, America, Canada, Australia.
Oh, we used to have America. I suppose we could take America back. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Exactly. That's probably the big one.
That's
a big ticket item.
Absolutely. That is it. That's the Mayfair of the Monopoly board, isn't it?
Exactly.
They put a few hotels on that. Clean up. Anyway, right. This podcast's 5-star review has come via Pacific Wave. Thank you very much. They're in the US. Appreciate it. If you'd like to be like them and give us a 5-star review, we'd massively appreciate it. But, you know, enough about that. Let's talk about this one. So, love this podcast. In-depth analysis. Sure. Yeah, why not? And less fluffy nonsense. Brilliant. Solid intro. 5 stars, which is, of course, a prerequisite of appearing here in the 5-star review. Let's get into it. Gents. Been a lurking listener for a long time. Thank you for continuing to push out quality God, my words, I'm starting to sound like Jonathan Ross. Quality commentary that provides a thoughtful, holistic look at the game and the hobby from a normal person's perspective, recognizing 40k is part of our lives, not our entire life. Now, I will just say it before we go.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the idea that we've been given the, indirect compliment of having a normal person's perspective. It's quite nice, isn't it, Phil? You are the normie.
It is. We are nothing if not normal.
That's it. The hipster.
But our lives are 100% consumed by Warhammer.
Absolutely. But we are still somehow normal.
We are. We try our best.
We do. I also appreciate how you express yourselves with both mental and emotional intelligence without resorting to pop culture gossip, gutter language, and references and unnecessary filler content. Well,
Zidane, you were thinking recently we should bring back the gutter language, and look, here's someone praising us for not doing it. So
it wasn't so much. To be clear, Phil, I wasn't saying we needed to bring back gutter language. I just felt like I was just offering the hypothesis that maybe we could free ourselves up to express ourselves, more
in a more adult sense.
Idiom. That was where I was going.
Mature fashion.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I mean, here we go. Good old Pacific Wave has shown us the error of our ways, and there we go. It's something they enjoy, so fair play. The filler content was the bit where I was kind of like pulling my shirt jumper.
Well, I mean, the early episodes with you and Joe, I think, were much more egregious than they are currently.
Well,
so,
exactly.
But, I'm a hard taskmaster that likes to keep us on track.
Exactly. But yeah, I wouldn't say this is a filler content episode, but it's certainly filibustering.
No, I wouldn't say so.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. You treat your audience with maturity and respect, and that is both rare and refreshing. I mean, thank you. That's very kind. Of note, episode 217. I think it was 217. It was the episode where you discussed 11th edition. Was my favourite to date. And to be honest, I wanted 10 more hours. This is a very long-winded way to tell you thank you for your hard work, most of which I know goes unnoticed in this day and age of glitz and YouTube sensations. Signed, a grateful 40k devotee in Washington State, US. P.S. The first time I listened to you on speaker, I forgot to give my friends a warning about the intro music, and they were a bit startled. U.S. veterans all, lol. I got to be honest with you. I don't actually understand the significance of the song within a U.S. military context.
I think it's a military band song. If there's a particular use of it, I'm unaware.
I'm unaware too. This could be a potential thing.
Are we doing like an amazing faux pas?
We almost said.
Is it like a funeral march or something?
So it's called. I mean, the name of the song is called Semper Fidelis. Semper Fidelis,
which I guess is Latin, I'd assume.
So yeah, what is a Latin phrase meaning always faithful or always loyal. It is best known as the official motto of the United States Marine Corps, which often shortens to Semperfi. I hear them say it in the movies. I just don't know how to pronounce it. You want to have a crack at it?
No.
Okay, fine. The phrase is also used as a motto for other military units, cities, families, and schools. So there you go. Basically, we have inadvertently gone with a piece of music that speaks to us always being loyal and faithful, which I think in a way...
Yeah, it's probably what the klaxon sound when, the conscripts are being called up in, to go to war in America. It's like, come on, round up your citizens, off you go.
Off you go. Yeah. I just remember when I was watching the most recent inauguration or whatever it is, the passing of the torch, the becoming the president thing that they played it during the
oh, did they?
Yeah, when I was watching the Oval Office, whatever place was, and they had it playing, and I was like, oh, I know that song. Very good, very good.
The inauguration, I think, was
yeah.
It's
almost time to break out the old Christmas music again, though. Eh? I love that time of year.
Oh, sure. We love a good bit of Christmas jingle. Absolutely. I guess we'll talk about this later, but it's almost time for maybe end of year quiz.
Oh, we're going to do it, mate. 100%. It's got to happen this year. There's no excuse. No excuse.
Exactly. You got no excuse. Richie's got no excuse.
Absolutely. You've never had an excuse.
I've got no excuse. I never have one. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so thank you, Pacific Wave. You're an absolute scholar and a gentleman. Thank you for such incredibly kind words. And cheers, obviously, for praising our work on episode 217. I'm going to go back and give it a listen and maybe, just maybe, do an extra Patreon episode where we just talk about 11th in even more levels of absurdity. Maybe not for 10 hours, but we'll try and give you some more of that and all the other listeners as well and slap it up on Patreon. We've been concepting this idea of doing a additional kind of bit of content we would call the transitional noise that we put on Patreon. So maybe that'll be our first one, waxing lyrical more about 11th edition and where we think it might go. But anyway, regardless of all that, hypothetical nonsense, cheers, Pacific Wave. You're a saint. And to elaborate on that more, here is Phil.
Well, thank you very much, Pacific Wave. There is a lot more we could have done about 11th edition, because I definitely remember at the end of it going, oh, we didn't talk about this and that. So I think there is a lot more we could possibly speculate or desire. We could wish list things that we would change from a rules perspective, etc., etc. New armies we would concoct. There's more, I'm sure. We're really glad you enjoy the show. Really glad the fact that you think we're lovely humans that are normal and sound, but also, reasonably intelligent and, all good eggs, basically. So thank you for those kind words. And then lastly, Dan, did you know that Pacific Wave, if I recall correctly, is the name of a really good lager in a can with a great, lovely Hawaiian wave artwork? It is peak hipster beer. I think you'd like it.
Well, fair. I mean, you are peak hipster, whereas I'm, hipster.
You're a beer aficionado.
I am more of a beer aficionado, but not to the point that I have known about the Pacific Wave, unfortunately.
I can't remember the cool bar that I used to drink it in Camden, but whenever I went there for burgers in my lunch break, I would get a Pacific Wave. It was very nice.
Those burgers were either, I'm guessing, absurdly artisan or real, old school food truck sort of style, which version was it?
More artisan, I would say,
fair.
But still nice and greasy.
Oh mate, I keep meaning to. There's a food truck up near Leeds called Meat Castle, and I keep wanting to go up there. Their stuff looks unreal. Anyway, one day I'll make a pilgrimage up there and experience their fabulous looking smash burgers. They actually had a burger championships in Walthamstow recently, but I wasn't able to attend because I was doing something else. But I always enjoy a wing fest when they come around. My goodness, they're a good time. Anyway, right, there we go. That's all of those noises made. Thanks very much. Appreciate you. Cheers to everyone else who's considered or has left us a 5-star review. You're all the best. And then we're going to go on with the show now. So cheers, thanks, transitional noise. Hey all, it's this bit of the podcast where we don't have a particular agenda. We're just going to talk about things in the general sense, much like we laid out in the introduction, which we haven't recorded yet, but you know how it works. We're going to see how it goes and take it from there. You all right, Phil? Having a good time?
I'm good. The new shed 2.0 has heating now.
Gosh darn it. How do you cope with such luxury?
I know. Well, it's much more luxurious than having the last shed where I had to switch off the heater fan during recording and progressively got colder and colder as the night went on.
That's it. Now you are in the height of comfort, able to produce the most wondrous diatribes while, completely and utterly adequately heated. That's nice, isn't it?
Positively toasty, which is great.
This is lovely, mate. If anything, you're going to get too warm now. It's going to be a complete disaster.
Possibly. It might be a strip show, but thankfully, we're an audio-only format, so...
Now and again, we have fleeting ideals when it comes to that particular side of things. We were talking about, weren't we, going over to doing a bit more video-style stuff, but we flirt with it, and then we're like, Whatever. We get to the evening where we record, and we forget to do our hair, and it's like, oh, terrible.
Exactly.
Because you have to look your best.
Maybe next time.
Maybe. But no, I'm glad you're enjoying the comforts of the new shed, mate. It seems to be, having a positive impact on your output. I know it's old news now, but those new fancy Thunder Warrior minis look really cool. And then obviously I saw and heard from you this week that you're working on your scary kind of Chaos Spawn tentacle monster. That's looking rather fancy.
Yeah, doing a little warp horror, it's called, for Necromunda. So we're at the midpoint of the Necromunda campaign where we get a CAS injection. So I've got enough money to buy a big guy. Brute. No, Brute is doing it. Big guy is a Blood Bolt term, which we'll be talking about shortly. But a Brute is a basically big thing, whether that's an Ogryn or a pet of some kind. But yeah, I'm opting, because I'm Chaos, to go for a Warp Horror, which is basically much like the creature from The Thing. It's a kitbash from a Chaos Spawn mini. Many eyes, many legs, many little tentacly things is what I'm going for.
Fair. But yeah, looks awesome, mate. It definitely embodies the Cronenberg-esque aesthetic that you were trying to achieve there.
Yes, yeah, I think so. I think I need a couple more bits. I'm hoping to get some little Slanishy crab claws from Big Phil. Hopefully he's put them in the post, so they arrive in the next few days. But who knows? Hopefully so, mate. Hopefully so. But yeah, impressed with it. It's cool that you're doing well with the campaign side of things. It's good that Necromunda is proceeding well. Maybe, just maybe, I'll attempt to join the next campaign. I won't, because I mean, you should. It's genuinely the best fun. The best fun. All the games, it is. I mean, that there's certain probably frustrations around it for a lot of people, because things die quite unexpectedly. And as someone put it to me recently, there's so few dice that you roll, everyone sort of matters, and it really stings when you miss or when you fail to wound or something like that. Whereas 40k, you are rolling a bucket of dice, so it's all about the averages. Whereas you don't get that in Necromunda. You get the real swingy nature of a D6 system, because most people are shooting one shot, and you're rolling one dice to hit and one dice to wound, and one, classic what you would get from 40k, but with just a lot less dice. So you feel the differences, the pinches when they do happen. But I think that probably makes it much more interesting from a storytelling mechanic. Oh, totally, mate. No, it's great to see. Again, my desire to join in on Necromunda is not based on anything other than just, again, the amount of systems I'm playing and other bits and pieces, and I don't know. Maybe I'll do it. I do have a bit more time on my hands right now, so potentially there's an opportunity to take advantage of that and join a Necromunda campaign when it comes around in 2026, I imagine. Yeah, it will be next year, I think, because it's a few months, because we do one a month. So I think there's there should be 3 more games left, I think, before we wrap up. So next year for sure. And the it's interesting because I occasionally get everything painted for each meeting, right? I mean, ish. The first one I came to, I didn't have anything painted. The second one I came to, most things were base coated. This time I've got the Chaos Familiars, which are the Nurglings, all painted and finished. The bases are now all painted and look lovely because I did those separately. The characters, so the rest of the gang is all basically base coated. So it looks okay, but not great. I have aspersions to, or illusions maybe, to get them all painted up in time. I've got 2 weeks before the next one, but I also need to build and paint a couple more minis. So I'll see how I get on, basically. With that. So by the end of the campaign, they will all be lovely painted and finished in time for me to probably start a new gang for the future campaigns. I would sort of love it if you could actually just keep going and have it a bit more of an endless campaign. But I guess if you want to try and get new people on board, sort of resetting it makes more sense. And you could potentially just reset it and be like, oh, I'm just replaying it with the same miniatures and the same gang models, but all the stats are just being reset. But I mean, that in a way that feels like cheating the story that gang went through, I guess. It's like Mass Effect 2, right? You had all that progress in number 1 and you've just sort of reset to 0 again.
Yeah, fair. No, I understand what you mean, my friend. It's a reasonable point of comparison. But mate, no, excited, man. Good, that's going well. And again, maybe in 26 I'll get around to joining in. But yeah, a bit of a general catch up on all things hobby ourselves, and in the general sense. Apologies, by the way, you probably already heard it quite extensively. It's raining quite a lot where we are at the moment, and neither Phil nor my sheds are insulated to the extent that they can, not audibly produce the sound of rain when surrounded by it. So apologies.
But some people like that. But people go to sleep to the sound of raindrops.
Well, that's it. A bit of atmosphere, which
it can be an ASMR episode.
Well, indeed. But yeah, mate. So I mean, outside of obviously your Necromunda stuff, which is all really cool. Myself, Richie, and Tim and Joe went up to Warhammer World weekend past for the Age of Sigmar doubles. Yourself and Richie are going to be attending this weekend, aren't you, for the Warhammer 40,000
Yes,
doubles?
we are. That should be fun.
Pretty exciting. I wasn't able to attend Warhammer 40,000 doubles because I have a stag do this weekend that took priority, so I've got to go deal with that. And you weren't able
to have a stag up at Nottingham. That's the way to do it.
They're not Warhammer people.
They could be. They could be converted over one glorious weekend of games.
Indeed. And Phil wasn't able to come to the AOS weekend because something to do with his life as well. Terrible, really.
My mum had an 80th birthday. Like,
what a
terrible.
monster!
I know.
Well, I'm very happy for her. Many happy returns to Phil's mum, everybody. What a ledge. But anyway, so long story short is we did AOS over the weekend, which was fun. Myself and Joe partnered up. We had the team of Slaves to Cheese was our team name, and we took the forces of the Slaves to Darkness and the Skaven. There was an interesting stipulation around this particular event, which is that your doubles teams had to be drawn from the same Grand Alliances. So the doubles team needed to be made up of 2 forces of chaos, or 2 forces of order, or 2 forces of destruction, death, and so on. So it created this really unique situation, which was that a lot of people, when looking at the task of doubling up, just decided, do you know what? I'm just going to take my own army, split it in 2, have my friend play the other half. Yeah, I know.
Did they?
It happened a lot. Yeah, a lot of people just were like, oh, I'll just do this then, I guess. So you had like double Crawl Boys, double Trogs. There was a lot of that doing the rounds.
I totally understand it, but that's also really annoying. It's like, if you can't do it, don't sign up.
Well, indeed. Although, again, I mean, there were 70 teams in attendance, which is, a pretty good showing for AOS, 140 players, which is super cool. But yeah, obviously some of those, needed to, kind of get together and kind of build armies under a certain, level of restrictions. So under that state of duress, I guess they as friends decided that so as we can still attend, best we just take one of our armies and split it into 2 rather than, say if me and Phil were trying to double up, we have no overlap.
We couldn't. No, it's interesting. So obviously, in a way, that was one of the incentives for me to get the Hellsmiths of Hushut box set, because you all have chaos. It's like, you've got chaos, Joe's got chaos, Richard and Tim all have chaos. Me and Sean are the only two with death factions currently, although Tim is currently building a Nighthaunt army, so me and him can attend a doubles event in January together.
Yeah.
So basically that stipulation is actually quite punishing for friend groups that just don't happen to have similar factions. Is thematically very good, and I can see why they do it. I believe they're also doing it for the 40k one that we're attending this weekend, so we've got to do double Imperium. I don't know if you can do mixed. Like, historically, it used to be you could do anything, and there were specific awards for, overall factions, and then like a mixed faction, which was probably the most hotly contended award because very few people went into the actual correct buckets. So it's good that they're doing it for these events to try and keep things a little bit more on a theme, basically.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I kind of like the old days, at least when we had a allies matrix, so it used to make sense what kind of forces could go with each other, and there was a nice sort of thematic element to it. So players have the opportunity to, maybe take advantage of one of those come the apocalypse type pairings where it was like maybe Blood Angels and Necrons coming together, and that was kind of like a fun thematic kind of idea that you could lean into. The issue
me
was
and Richard did Gazgol and Yarrick as a team up. Yeah, and that was good fun.
But there was an issue with those old allies matrix because Tyranids could only be with Tyranids. No one liked Tyranids.
That's true. But that was also the precursor of Genestealer Cult as well. So now they could at least have someone to team up with.
I may be misquoting this, but I actually think they weren't even able to team up with Genestealer Cult, Because when the Tyranids turn up on the planet, they don't really. Dead. They're eating everything. They don't care,
That is true, but you should be playing out the final moments where the Gene Stealers are like, the Blessed Four-Armed Emperor, just before the Tyranids are like, tasty snack.
Well, I think that's what happens, though, is I think they just kind of down their weapons and, run towards the great big mouth.
Maybe that's true.
But anyway, long story short is some interesting stipulations around that. So myself and Joe were running Chaos in the form of Skaven and Slaves to Darkness, and then Richie and Tim were also doing Chaos in the form of Slaves to Darkness and Magic of Nurgle. It was a great weekend, as they always are. Really love the work that Steve and the team at Warhammer World are doing. Steve wasn't actually there this weekend, but Ed was looking after things, and then Nick from Warhammer TV and the like was also in attendance, which is actually quite fun. I'd say Nick was actually on the best form that he's been on in a while. I often found in the past that you could catch him in a bit of an odd moment sometimes, but I felt like Nick was really good this weekend, which was great. It was just, a really fun time. I didn't feel like it had the same kind of energy or the same kind of vibe as the Golden Ticket event earlier in the year. That was a really fun and really exciting kind of community event with a really good sort of energy around it. But I would say the same of the Warhammer 40,000 Golden Ticket events at Warhammer World as well. I think both Age of Sigmar and 40k's Golden Ticket events produced utterly incredible weekends. Those, really stand out to me as amazing occasions. But yeah, the doubles this weekend past was really good, but maybe there's something about everyone being there with their friends that kind of forces a degree of sort of insularness because, you're there with your mates so you can, kind of escape into their company rather than having to be forced to engage with your opponents in a more kind of comprehensive manner. But ultimately, it was a good time. Me and Joe somehow won 4 out of 5 games, which was pretty mad.
That's very good.
It was very good. So we got absolutely demolished game 1. We came up against a team of Tim and Ewan who were running double Trogs. And it was a perfect storm. Trogs are really hard for us to deal with because they are very, very durable. But we happen to be playing them on a battle plan where there are only 2 objectives and every piece of terrain is obscuring. So basically, the trogs sat in the trees. I couldn't shoot them because they were hidden in the trees. And then when Joe charged into them, he was -1 to hit them, -2 to his rend characteristic. So basically, he's charging in, barely hitting anything, and barely wounding it because the rend is so utterly depleted. And then these trogs are just kind of wailing on you. And the thing is there was no tactical nuance to be played to. There's just two objectives, and the trogs,
were the objectives also in the trees, or were they? Because should they?
They were out of the trees, but there were enough. So the battle plan's life routes, Phil. So it's the one where it's just a line of trees across the middle.
Okay.
And then there's one.
So I guess it's that thing of as soon as you go on an objective, they will just charge you from the tree line.
Yeah. Well, the thing is you start on your own objective and create your own kind of barricades, but it's more a case of the only way you're going to win this game is by, getting in on that other objective potentially, or doing better from a battle tactics perspective, but you're not really going to be able to trade battle tactics. So, I mean, if we were being really clever, we could have probably have gone, tell you what we're going to do is just play for the draw, because neither of us are going to get anything in this game if neither of us engage with each other. So we could just have created like a really boring stalemate.
Yeah.
But, it's a Throw the Skulls weekend. We're there for a laugh. So we were like, oh, well, they want to play it really tactically, which they did, to be fair. They did it very well. We're just going to YOLO it and we'll see what happens. And as it turns out, we bounced off them, died horribly, and lost. And then every subsequent game, we managed to win. Although technically, I was under the impression that the last game of the weekend, Game 5, was a draw. But for some reason, it's registered as a win, because even though the score was 60 points to 60 points, we had gotten 5 or 6 battle tactics. So we had completed 6 battle tactics, but our opponents had only completed 4 battle tactics.
Right, which is a tiebreaker.
Which I didn't realise that at the time. We were like, oh, it's a draw, and then we put it in the app, and then seemingly it came out as a win. So
how nice.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a happy accident, I suppose. So technically a win, but, really a draw. So, yeah. But according to the Throw the Skulls, matrix of it, we got 4 wins, 1 loss. We had 3 favourite game votes, which is really good going when you consider we won 4 out of 5 games. Normally there's a negative correlation between winning a game and getting favourite game votes. And we got 2 favourite army votes as well, which is super nice. So yeah, all things being equal, finished up in 10th place overall, which really happy with. Would have been great had we managed to podium. I would have loved to have come away with one of those really cool Age of Sigmar trophies. But at the end of the day, really, really happy with the way the event went. It was a lot of fun. Joe's a great person to double up with, and obviously you always have a good time being out with the boys in Nottingham. It was a good laugh, really, really good vibe. Had a great time. And yeah, all pretty groovy. I suppose the only thing I would grumble about nowadays, if I was so inclined to do so, is I would say this time around, I genuinely felt the pinch of the ever-increasing Bugman's Bar price point, I would say. I feel like those guys have definitely unlocked or released the Kraken when it comes to exorbitant pricing around their drinks and other kind of condiments. I remember being at the bar waiting to be served, and this chap was ordering a round of drinks in front of me, and it was like 3 beers or something, and he goes, oh, I'll have 3 of those beers, and they get it for him, and it's like, cool, yeah, that's 24 quid or whatever it was. And he was like, I'm sorry, what? I'm just checking. I ordered 3 beers, right? And they're like, yes, there's 24 quid. It's like, okay, sure, why not? Genuinely like flabbergasted by the fact that they were £8 a pint, which to be fair in London is pretty normal, but for Nottingham,
even for London, that's still outrageous.
No, not anymore, Phil. Unfortunately, we've gone too far.
It's been too long. Too long since I've been.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, I imagine if you go to your average bar in Oxford, mate, it's probably like that as well.
I mean, maybe. I remember the good old days where you could go to was it a Sam Smith pub, and you could get them for like £2 a pint.
Oh, mate, good times.
Glory days.
these days, the best you can hope for is Weatherspoons. And not that I necessarily dislike Weatherspoons, but it hasn't got the best atmosphere, right? Like, I feel like they need to review their no music policy. Needs a vibe in there, you know?
I sometimes quite like it, though, for that.
Yeah, I do. The thing is, I've never felt the same about Weatherspoons since they got rid of the mixed grill.
Oh, you're protesting. I'm
not protesting. It's just never felt the same. You know, the mixed grill used to stand for something, Phil.
Oh, fair. Yeah, I mean, going back to Bugman's, yeah, it always seems quite expensive. Having been there since the refurb, I don't mind it. Some of the elements to it are quite nice, although I remember speaking to the barmaid about the low-hanging lights that are just sort of getting in your way, and I think they said they were going to increase the height of them, or that they had already increased the height of them, but they're still kind of annoyingly a bit too low and in your eye line. Yeah, but it's definitely slightly changed from its older days.
I like that when they started out with the refurb, they had some really dodgy, like, rubber swords on the wall. You remember those?
No, so that was the thing I was going to say. When I went, the swords on the wall looked like proper decent sort of replicas. So I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, Dan. But obviously, maybe they had changed them since you had first gone, because you went a time I didn't go, which was maybe one of the golden ticket events.
Yeah, I think I was there literally like within a few days of them having opened it up to the new thing. And yeah, they had these really rubbish, like rubber swords, like stuck to the wall. It was almost like a sort of like phone it in. Get it over the line. You've got nothing
better until the actual stuff comes in. Okay, yeah. Well, I'm glad that the ones that you thought were rubber weren't the actual ones, because I was like, Dan's a bit harsh about these, because these seem pretty good.
You know what this is going to be, though? It's going to be my Mandela effect thing, where I'm going to swear blind that they were there. And
maybe.
I should have taken a photo back in the day. I've ruined it for myself.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Warhammer World's a great venue, and I think ultimately GW can exploit the fact that they are alone in a
it's a captive audience, isn't it?
Exactly, right? A business park in the middle of nowhere. People come in specifically to spend time there, go to the exhibition, buy figures, look at all the amazing like gaming that's going on. It's got a vibe. It's a particular type of venue. I understand, but I do feel like the prices are quite exorbitant now. I think like when you're going in there and you're ordering a can of Monster and that can of Monster is £4, it's like, oh my God, like that's a heck of a markup for a can
and it just sort of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, and also just adds to the general cost of the weekend and the feeling of, oh, this is a really expensive weekend.
That was a big thing for me coming back from it, and doing a bit of a kind of like post-mortem, as it were, on some of the pricing, because I spent a lot in the bar that weekend. And now, admittedly, for the first time in a long time, I kind of got on the drink a bit early on with it as well. So I was sort of like, because we lost our first game, I was like, oh well, let's just get into the swing and just get drinking. And so I had like 6 or so pints by the time we got to game 3.
Positively boozy.
Oh, mate, honestly, we were sloshy. To be honest with you as well, like I had to apologise to our Game 3 opponents because I was trying to be helpful, but obviously I was really quite drunk by this point. Oh. So, as you can imagine, Phil, imagine you don't know me and you're playing against me and you're going, oh, I'm going to move that there. And then all of a sudden I go, yeah, mate, and I just pick it up and move it for you. And you're like,
it's that time.
Please stop that.
Wasn't it? I think it was me and Richard played a very drunk guy at the LGT many years ago. He rocked up very late. His other half was quite apologetic about it, and he was literally steaming. Yeah. But he seemed to enjoy himself. We tried our best to enjoy ourselves. So maybe you were that guy on this occasion. But maybe it helps you get in the zone because you obviously won all your games. A little bit half baked.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I think the thing is with the Skaven army is it is a very high finesse army, and the thing is the only thing is that I would say that was funny between me and Joe was the fact that Joe's Slaves of Darkness army was a really brute force, really simple list in so many senses because it's just knights, right? So he just wants to go He just wants to get let loose and hit. And I want to kind of kite people and bait them and do things. So trying to figure out the synergy between those two concepts was really interesting. Although, again, conceptually similar to what you and I kind of faced when I was running Mechanicus and you were doing Custody. It's not that your army is necessarily basic, but it's that idea where you're
just going forwards.
Yeah, exactly. You're going forwards, putting on your feel no pains and, going through the motions. Whereas, like, the Mechanicus, you can't just kind of be so blasé with them, I suppose. Or at least you couldn't back then. These days, they seem like they're in a better place. But, regardless, it was a fun weekend. We had a good time. I think Richie and Tim clocked in at 15th overall. I think they got
it was 15th
games. Yeah, they did all right. They either won 2 or 3 games. I can't remember the final tally, but they did well in favorite game and favorite army votes, which is super awesome. I mean, Tim's got a beautifully painted Nurgle army, which probably helped out massively with that. Equally, Joe has a beautifully painted Slaves of Darkness army that probably helped out massively with our painted scores. And then, I guess even though I was a drunken degenerate for some amount of Saturday, maybe our winning personalities did okay, because obviously 3 favourite game votes is pretty great, all things being considered. But yeah, great weekend, just a bit pricey, like I said. Warhammer World, I think now when you consider the whole package, right, if you're not native to Nottingham or the surrounding areas, you're looking at, like a doubles ticket is 100 quid for 2 people. So 50 quid a head on that. You're looking at a hotel room for you and someone to share in. That's coming in at, probably 200 to 250 for the weekend.
Because the room's like 100 a night, basically.
Give or take, yeah. So call it 250 there. So then, basically, and then split it into 175. So 225 quid. Then you've got to get there. That'll cost anywhere between 50 to 100 pounds, depending on your methodology. So again, money. And then when you're there, it's a lot of money in food, a lot of money in drink. And then if you're going out in the evening, more so again. And that's, without even considering the fact that you have to buy an army, paint it, take it with you. They're expensive weekends, I think. So after this one, I think, even though I think Warhammer World is great, I don't necessarily feel like I could advocate for people going there super frequently, unless they're in the catchment area of Nottingham. I think in that case it kind of works. But yeah, I think going forwards, I might, by the end of this year, I will have gone there 6 times this year for events.
I mean, that's
a lot.
Excessive for us. Yes. Even when on average we used to go like 4 times a year. So I think 2 or 3 is like a good number for sure. I would still really like to do a campaign weekend like the narrative 40k ones. I would quite like to go, selfishly, this is to go to a 40k singles event just to try and win and get in the cabinet with my Thunder Warriors.
And you
probably I did obviously quite well in our doubles event. So, doing it just for that reason would be fun, I think. And then obviously, maybe another narrative campaign type thing for AOS would be good.
You didn't do the 40k golden ticket event last year, did you?
No, I didn't.
Mate, you should have done it. It was so good. That's the one.
Maybe I should do something like that.
Those are the ones now where I'm like, guaranteed I'll be at both of those next year. They're like the 2 I feel like I really want to do, and then probably like 1 more in addition to that, and that'll be enough, I think, for next year. Because I think the thing is, as well, is it comes down to that weird thing where you can have too much fun, because you guys went up there for, what did you do recently up there? Was it an AOS thing, wasn't it? It was the double tournament weirdness that you did.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was AOS doubles.
Yeah. So basically, you guys went up and did that one. I kind of gave it a miss because I was at that point where I was like, at this point, it's getting ridiculous. Like, if I'm going every month, it's starting to get to a point where it's like, it's hard to enjoy it when I'm doing it all the time,
True. But then you're also doing it next month with a team event.
Next month, as in December.
Oh, December, right. I think the odd thing is, as well, we've all been quite, as a group, sporadic in terms of going up as a group. Like, you've been doing a lot with Joe and some other guys from old Bournemouth. And then I've gone to a few events that you haven't gone to, for example. So it hasn't got quite the magic of a cohesive group that we used to have.
Yeah, I think that's something we need to rally around for next year. Be a bit more.
So yeah, a bit more picky and try and do events that we can all do. But then sometimes people want to do just, something that maybe others either can't do or aren't able to be. Like, I would have done the AOS one, but I didn't. I wasn't able to do it this time around.
No, of course, mate. It is what it is. But anyway, I still think Warhammer World is a great place to go, but it is that thing where it's like getting to the point where it's like you can't ignore the priciness of it. Maybe just bring some drinks with you. That's probably what I'm going to do in December. I'm going to bring a backpack filled with lemonades or whatever.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah, you could just do that. Yeah. I make use of teas and waters, like free tap watery type stuff. That's
lovely.
The best way
Splash
to do
yourself in the local faucet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Anyways, that was Warhammer World. Obviously, Phil, you're up there this weekend. You're running Thunder Warriors. Richie's doing Elysians, right?
I think he's going to do Elysian/Scions. So the current plan is that he's going to take like a command squad, a couple of Scion command squad, a couple of regular Scion squads, using his Elysian models. Then he's also got some Legends units he wants to take, because that's finally allowed after years of me protesting that when they finally do it, I've got a nice shiny new army that I'd rather take. So yeah, he's taking 2 Drop Sentinels, I think, toying with a Venator, but rules-wise that's rubbish, toying with a Vulture and a Marauder Destroyer. So, a bit of a mix from his stuff, but basically he just wanted to take an old army.
Makes sense. But yeah, hopefully that goes well for you. You'll tell us about that probably in the next one in terms of the progress report. Outside of that, at the moment, obviously on the event side of things, we've got the World Championships coming up in a couple of weeks, but we're not expecting anything super amazing from that. GW probably will have some reveals there, although they've not really said anything yet, have they? About
it feels like reveal shows have just been cancelled. Like they haven't done one for a while, which is a bit of a shame. Like, I did like them. I don't really know what reason they have for not doing them, unless they just want to keep stuff for Warhammer community, or it's just too much of a effort for the. Maybe it's a cost-cutting thing, right? Like it's just too much effort for them to go out to America invariably, which is where they're done, and then put out a show. Or actually, quite often, I think they're just done in the UK, but going out live at like 3 a.m. in the morning, and maybe that's sort of one of the reasons why they've stopped doing it.
Yeah, maybe it's just hostile to their staff situation where it's like, we expect you to be up at 3 a.m.
It's fine.
Well,
the bit of the live show where they get questions from the audience or they shout out where people are, great for them to raise money via Twitch, because that's what they do, is through memberships. But other than that, it's as a viewer, I don't get really any benefit of it being live. The questions that they ask from the community are often not able to be answered because they themselves don't know, or they just say, well, wait and see. Will there be more stuff coming for this box set? Who knows? And it's like, cool, these are great answers, everyone. So that is a bit pointless. The time that I thought was quite interesting is when they did the like official style presenter. It was all pre-recorded and they had some designer interviews. But the downside of that is they kind of glossed over looking at the models themselves and just sort of were like, here's some models. Okay, they were on the screen for 2 seconds. Now we've got the designers along to talk about the models or the rules around the models, while not showing you any of the pictures of those models. And I think there could have been a happy medium where they did show off the models. It was all pre-recorded, and they have designers of either the miniatures or the rules writers talking about those, models and rules, while at the same time still showing off those models. And maybe that would be a better way to do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation, isn't it? Because when they go out on those live streams, they're also terrified of saying something because they're concerned that they're going to leak. And I think the way that they've kind of asserted their sort of media training and position is deny everything. It's the name and serial number type approach where that's all you get out of them. And I think that's actually to their detriment, because at the end of the day, you'd be better off not having that live segment than having someone standing there going, who knows? It's just, it's counterintuitive. I think it's negative fun. But yeah, look, the other thing is the fact that they went out at like 3 a.m. is the thing that I still couldn't get my head around. There is a time in the day which isn't completely antisocial for the United Kingdom and is still the daytime in the US, even California. Yeah. I know it's crazy.
Yeah, but they maybe just needed to pick that.
What is the thing? The assertion always is, it's the events that dictate it. I was like, oh, okay. So they don't want us to do a reveal at their event, do they? Us, Games Workshop, the biggest company in this space, we've got to bend to their will, do we? It's like...
I guess it's if they have people out there doing a live show in addition or in parallel to an online show, maybe, because it seemed like that's what they had done. But I'm a bit like, you don't even need to go out there. Just do it online on Warhammer Community, but just time it with the actual event. That's cool. There's nothing wrong with it doing it that way. Because here's the thing, when we were at Warhammer Fest, we were sort of just sat around a tiny screen watching the live stream, because that's all you could do. And it's like half the time it was just easier to look it up on your phone and look at the pictures that way, because of either your Wi-Fi connection or like the screen size or whatever. Yeah, I get that there is some sort of old school, like Games Day Warhammer Fest appeal to being in an audience, having a live show in front of you, and also having a Q&A with, some designers or developers there, and maybe they would reveal a few extra bits. I felt like the Forge World one's always much more open about those sorts of things, and much more beneficial when they were doing things like Bad Ab War and the Imperial Armor books or the Black books for Heresy. They were so much more open about like some of the stuff that is coming down the line, whereas I feel like nowadays it's all under lock and key.
Yeah, it's a different vibe these days, right? But anyway, so we know that's coming around the corner. The other thing coming around the corner we had on pre-order this week, the illustrious Terminator box and or Ultramarine kits, as well as some other crazy bits. So they've got the Archon for the Drakari coming out super quick, which is great to see. Again, for those of us who purchased the FOMO army box with the Archon in it, thinking it was going to be months before we get this thing separately, that's egg on our face, because here it is in ready available form. They've also got a bunch of Chaos Space Marine repacks, which isn't anything super exciting, I suppose, but they do also have the new Red Gobbo mini coming out, which is a bit weird to look at, in the sense that it's a robot with the goblin poking his head out, but the photography of it kind of creates this weird kind of dysmorphia or sort of general kind of strange head positioning. If you think those illustrations of human beings within Terminator armor are, a bit kind of contortionist-esque, this Red Gobbo is looking especially all over the place in this particular suit of armor. Probably one of those instances, Phil, where we'd benefit from them still having 360 photography, eh?
Well, yes. So this is something I mentioned to you. Well, firstly, it's a Vostroyan nutcracker, basically. That's the reference that they're going with. But yeah, as I mentioned, I've noticed recently that they seem to have done away with the 360 photography on the web store. Pretty much anything that's new doesn't have it at all, unless some of the things I've noticed, like the new combat patrols, feature old models which have already had the 360 photography, so therefore they're showing it. But like the new Jump Pack Captain, the new character Space Marines, Hellsmiths of Hashut, quite big model releases. None of them have 360 photography, and I actually have always really enjoyed the 360 photography. Find it really beneficial when you're painting models to be able to spin it around, look top down as well, because you can do that on them. Find it really beneficial if you're kit bashing or you just want to really like have a good stare at the miniatures or get a sense of its shape. It's a lot easier to do that with the 360 sort of photography than just a flat image.
Yeah, totally agree. It's strange. I just asserted that the individual who was probably responsible for the 360 photography has since left the business, and they've not either replaced this individual with someone with like-for-like skills, or they've, done a bit of a cost analysis process and just gone, what kind of value is it actually adding? How many people really use it? What is its function? And probably just gone, oh, let's just sack it off because it's, a load of extra work. Also, I remember hearing from GW staffers who left the business that there was this unique nuance to how photography worked within Games Workshop, which was that different teams would take multiple photos of the same unit. So they'd have the same heavy metal paint job, and then it would be photographed by different teams for different purposes. And that was quite a common occurrence from what I understood. So maybe it's just like a scheduling situation or whatever. But it is weird that they got rid of it, because I genuinely felt like it was a really nice thing for, the Games Workshop consumer. When you buy a miniature and you really want to kind of pore over the detail and really plan out your painting scheme, having the ability to rotate 360 and look at all the different angles and get an appreciation for, details that you may otherwise miss. It's odd to me that, that's something that they remove. But I guess the way they look at it is that it potentially is such a niche audience of customers that use that functionality. Maybe they were just like, you know what, let's just sack it off.
Because when the website first got redone, the 360s weren't on there for a while. So it obviously was like an extra, bolt-on plug-in third-party system maybe to get that up and running, or required extra stuff. And either potentially that technology is too difficult to maintain or too costly because it's like a third-party thing. As you said, there's like a pipeline of how much effort that it takes to actually stick a model in a light box, have it rotate round, have the camera set up to take all those photos, and then edit all of those together. You're not just editing one photo, basically. You're editing probably 30 images for that 360 rotation. And when you're churning out miniatures on a weekly basis that Games Workshop's producing, that's a lot of effort to do for every single model. So, there's plenty of reasons why they potentially got rid of it. It's just a shame, because as a customer, I think it's really useful. And it was one of the, Games Workshop's always good at being the forefront and the leader of the tabletop miniatures space. So them providing features that you can't get from other companies other than just good looking models, right? Or the game systems themselves. Those little things were always really helpful. So for them to take it away from us is a shame, basically.
Yeah, it's those odd little things that companies like this do that create a sense of value, but also create a sense of joy, I suppose, if anything else. Like, a lot of the time, these are the funny little things that, as you say, Phil, does create a degree of separation. And, as a company that aspires to and, claims to create the greatest tabletop miniatures, figurines, sculpts, whatever you want to call them, it's intriguing to me that, they don't do more to kind of celebrate that through the website and give more of a kind of showcase of that quality as they did in the past. Again, obviously you get great photography, but often I find that the 360 imagery was actually quite a redeeming element as well, because when you had the 360 image, you could kind of see past the sort of two-dimensional structure of the kind of main photography, and it actually gave the miniature a bit more of a presence and a bit more of a weight and feel that sometimes the 2D photography just didn't capture. So I think it had a positive impact on things.
I think when you spin it around, you can, in your mind's eye, visualize the 3D model itself, whereas a 2D image you just don't get. And seeing it in person is obviously the best way to do it.
Oh, totally.
Considering most of their sales are via online, I would assume having that feature is actually a benefit to people wanting to buy the miniatures as well. Not that there's a tangible metric to do that. I mean, as we're on a slight rant, I'm going to complain about the other quality of life thing that I have come across lately that Games Workshop has stopped doing, and that's only because we've called it out as it was such a fantastic thing that they did do in the past, and that was their returns policy for products. So historically, we've always said it's fantastic. Keep your products sealed until you're going to actually open them up, because Games Workshop will take back sealed models in it, even without a receipt, with for a voucher basically, or for a trade. Like, you can't exchange it for cash, obviously, and that I always thought was a really good deal, basically. So stuff that was a bit old that you was still obviously available to buy, you could return, and they've changed it slightly now. So now you need a receipt, which, as someone that occasionally buys stuff in shops, I never keep my receipts. The thing in question is, last year I went to Warhammer World, frivolously bought some bull centaurs for Blood Bowl for the Chaos Dwarf team, and also got the team card pack, which I have kept sealed. I've kept both of them sealed, to be honest, because for Christmas, no one bought me the Chaos Dwarf team. It was on my Christmas wish list, did not get it. So disappointing. Family.
Just coal for you.
Exactly. Family disowned. Maybe this year. Maybe this year will happen. But probably not. Anyway, up until I was happy with my purchase. I was happy to keep that card pack sealed. And then Games Workshop only went and announced Blood Bowl Season 3. Basically completely invalidating that deck of cards. So I dropped them a little email and I said, I have these sealed cards. The game system won't be valid next year. I would like to return it. And they said, oh, well, we need a receipt. And I had a bit of a hoo-ha and found my bank details to show the transaction that happened at Warhammer World where I bought it from. And then they said, well, actually, it's a limited product. It's a limited run product. So therefore, we don't offer returns on those things. And I'm like, oh, thanks. And it's limited run because it's the card stuff. But it's also something they won't be selling anymore because they've just changed the edition. So I'm like, oh, great, Games Workshop. So that was invariably frustrating because historically, like a year or two ago, I could have just taken that into a shop or returned it online and there would have been no qualms about it whatsoever. And I get that there's a third-party retailers, there's an issue to do with that you might have not bought it from Games Workshop, but the value that Games Workshop has in terms of taking that back and selling it on for the same price is exactly the same for them. So it really makes no difference. And actually, Games Workshop stores, I believe, they still sometimes do it. They've got, these items are disappearing section, which is basically returned products before they end up going back off to like the main office and stuff like that. So the fact that they, that thing should still be available to buy, it's just in a limited stock. So it's annoying that they won't take it.
I suppose the situation is that they probably need to do a better job of clarifying what is and what isn't limited stock. Is it on them to clarify that at the point of purchase, or is it for us as hobbyists
to do your research. Yeah. I mean, like what? Because in my mind, it's like, well, everything could be limited stock. To me, like obviously the Hellsmiths of Hashut box set is limited because you know that will sell out and never be coming back. But there's plenty of products that technically aren't limited, like a box of Space Marines, but might not be available because they're just out of stock. So is that technically limited? Or I would assume not, but you know, who knows what the actual answer would be.
Yeah, so doing exchanges in store for products that are no longer available, and also that also goes for different SKUs as well, because one of the other things that GW do frequently because of the new editions is recycle stock, right? So often when going into a new edition, any kind of units of stock that haven't sold will be returned to the office and then potentially, you know, repurposed into new packaging, given a new SKU code, given new instruction manuals with new, you know, relevant documentation for current editions. And then if you turn up maybe a few weeks after that reissue has occurred and the new packaging has come into circulation, you can also find that if you don't have a receipt, you're in a bit of trouble with that as well, because they're like, well, we don't sell that anymore.
Thing anymore.
I mean,
yeah,
but it's like, but you do. It's like if I went back in, because I got a sealed box of Kill Team Corsairs. If I tried to go back into GW today and try and return that box of Corsairs for an exchange, they'd say no, because it's not the current Kill Team, right? Like it's the new Kill Team box has got new gubbins in it, so I can't return that should I wish to. Their policy has definitely become a lot less generous. Yes. I would argue what it was in the 90s, as I remember, it was probably too generous. I think they hit the right kind of middle ground 10 or so years ago, but as is always the way with the sort of shifting dynamic between retailer and customer, the lines are always being drawn more and more in favor of the kind of retailer retaining its sales.
Yes. Yeah. Here's the thing. What they are doing isn't really any different from most other companies. Oh, God, no. But what was great was that they were actually going above and beyond that historically.
And, I would argue that that is one of the attributes of Games Workshop in the early years that actually helped them grow and become a major player in the world today, because I think many of us growing up with the hobby had such amazing experiences with GW's customer service team that we were in those moments genuinely, you know, thrilled to have made that purchase. I know for a fact back in the day the then Forge World team were exceptional at this. Like I remember picking up the phone to, you know, the team there because I had just lost the copper rod that was used in the old Avatar sculpt. So there was an Avatar sculpt with a spear, and he had a copper rod in the packaging, and that copper rod basically was used to stick both ends of the spear to and put it in his grasp. Now, I called them up and was very clear that I'd just lost it. It's not that I didn't ever have it. I was like, I've just lost it. And they were like, oh, don't worry, mate. We'll send you a new one. And they sent me a little package with a little new copper rod in it, and I was really thrilled with it because I was like, literally, like that is necessary. Yeah. That was just them being really nice, and I was
very, very nice. And I've had similar things in the past, like I think Blood of Baal box set, which was Tyranids versus Blood Angels, I believe, and the book was damaged, I believe, like the booklet was damaged, which had like little campaign bits in, and they literally sent me a whole box full of all the miniatures. And similar things have happened in the past with Forge World, where sometimes with Forge World they just send you a whole new product. Other times they will just send you the replacement parts. I did find in the latter years of Forge World, before they moved over to the Games Workshop website, they were a bit more stringent on some of those things, where they would be like, well, actually, no, you've got to fix this yourself. And I'd be like, yeah, I've been doing this for like 10 plus years. I know what's fixable and what isn't. And this is like a dodgy cast. And I would push back sometimes. The new Games Workshop stuff, weirdly, I've had some issues with lately. Not with the returns policy per se, but with the Hellsmiths of Hashut book, I had, with the box, I had two issues. One, I had the large round base that was for the Death Striker batteries, like the artillery piece. That base was split into two and placed into two separate compartments of the box, on the left-hand side and right-hand side of where the book is. So someone had to physically put them in those places. It's not like they were broken and then put in the same place. They were physically put into two different parts of the box, which was quite puzzling. And then also the book itself, every other page was slightly stuck together, as if the cutting method hadn't quite cut through the correct place. So yeah, I had to contact Element Games, because I got this from Element Games, and they actually sent me out a replacement book and a replacement base, which was very good of them. But because I bought it through third party, it was their sort of job to sort me out with one rather than, deal with Games Workshop, I guess. But yeah, that was very odd. And Games Workshop has had a habit of doing stuff like this. Like there was, lots of people had damaged sprues with the new Heresy Saturnine box sets. One of my friends, what did he buy recently? I think it was the Kill Team box with the Necrons in, and some of that was damaged. I can't remember what it was exactly that was damaged there. It might have been the book or something. Yeah. So it feels like some of Games Workshop's quality control has gone down slightly, or maybe I'm just exposing myself to more people that have had issues. But historically, he's always been quite good at doing their replacements, and that's why I've always sort of said, "Oh yeah, if there's a problem, don't worry, they normally sort you out." So when there's cases when they don't do that, that's quite annoying. But my case in point with the Blood Bowl stuff, that was me just wanting to return something. So, they're not legally obliged to return it, but historically they did. So it was a bit disappointing to know that they've changed their policy. And because we have shouted about it on the podcast, I thought I would, retract my praise here also publicly. Just let people know, basically, if they were thinking, oh, well, cool, I could do that.
Yeah, that's fair. Anyway, there you go. Good old G-dubs and their ongoing silliness with that sort of stuff. At the end of the day, I think it's only reasonable, given the amount of stuff that they're churning out as an entity these days, that, certain standards will struggle to remain the same. But, I think they try their best. I think, again, my experience of GW still is very, very positive, in the sense that when you go into their stores, their staff are really knowledgeable, really attentive, really good. And that goes for, their customer services and other bits and pieces. But yeah, I think there is definitely, when you're a boutique, like really, really premium product with a very high price point relative to what it is that you're purchasing, I think those little customer service elements are hugely vital in terms of developing that customer loyalty and creating, return customer. Because as long as you're consistently creating a positive vibe, I think that's where a lot of the positive momentum comes from these things. But it is a shame that they weren't able to honour your returns. But it sounds like they were quite, communicative and quite, it sounded like a reasonable feedback loop. You just obviously just didn't get the outcome you were looking for.
No, true. That is fine. Speaking of Blood Bowl, have you seen some of the previews that they've talked about for the new Blood Bowl game?
No, is the actual answer. I'm just actually looking at them right now.
So,
yeah.
TLDR, Dan, extra positionals and players are no longer available for teams. You get what is in the box. So you buy a box of humans. You get a bunch of linemen. You get some catchers. You get, I think, 2 blitzers and some throwers, I believe. And it used to be you could increase your team.
Yes.
With some extra blitzers, extra catchers, etc. Because what the box contained wasn't technically the entire possibility of all the different variations that you could create a team with. They've now basically said what you get in the box is your team, at the very least, to the point where you can't have more of those things. It might be that your team is composed of less things and you still get some variation, but what they've said is they will sort of stat boost some of the other positions in that team to make up for the fact that you basically, as a human team, you don't get 4 blitzers now, you get 2. I've seen lots of people complain online because it sort of feels like teams will be much more like a kill team box, as in there's not really much choice in terms of team composition. You could argue that most people didn't play with any team variety. You just looked online, you looked on the NAF website to find out sort of the best starter team, and you just went with that, which was, probably 4 blitzers, all the catchers and throwers that I could possibly afford, and then a bunch of linemen, maybe an ogre. And it feels like they've basically gone for the option of convenience to not have to buy a second box, but in doing so, taking away the variety and choice that you might potentially have had.
Yeah, it's hard to get a read on it. My gut reaction is I hate it, and I think it's a silly decision. But it really depends what their objective is, right? If their objective is that they want to try and broaden the appeal of Blood Bowl and bring in new players and create a more, a more relevant gaming experience for new players, adding in or removing that complexity, you could see as a good way of doing so, right? Because I guess people potentially like Kill Team because they just buy the box and then they're playing Kill Team. Same with this. You don't need to think about it. Buy the box, build it the way we tell you to, and then hey, you've got a team. I just think to myself, the argument that people are just going online and looking for the best team is completely false, in the sense that I've never really ever encountered 2 Blood Bowl players with the same mentality when it comes to their expression in that particular space. I think
that
Blood Bowl
is very true.
Yeah, I think Blood Bowl players are driven by a really diverse set of motivations and ideas. There are definitely people out there who want the best teams, and they will go and discover what those look like and they will do them. But then there are people like you, Phil, who will gladly do a stunty style halfling team. The gnomes have been doing really well for themselves. I've seen a lot of people playing them and loving them, despite them having some very clear issues from the outset. Again, I think removing the customization, removing the personalization of your team kind of defeats the purpose of Blood Bowl, in my opinion. It'd be like doing the same thing with Necromunda. It's like, no longer do you make Necromunda gangs. You just get the gang that's in the box. It's like, well, then what's the point, right? Not everything needs the same boilerplate solution, right? Like, yes, this worked for Kill Team, arguably, although I still and continue to attribute any perceived success of Kill Team to the fact that they're buying miniatures for Warhammer 40,000, right? Like, Kill Teams are not in themselves successful.
100%, I think. Yeah. Because I feel like I played a reasonable amount of Kill Team and Necromunda, and the customization of creating a gang in Necromunda is so much more fun than having a relatively prescribed set of Kill Team operatives in Kill Team. Because in Kill Team, you still get choice. So the last game I played, I replicated my Chaos Gang using the... what was it called? Not the Infernal thing. The box is just over there, but it's too far for me to see. It's basically the Renegade Chaos militia type. Renegade cultists or Chaos cultists. So I replicated that. And basically you get maybe 10 to, probably about 10 preset characters, and you're picking a selection of those, pick and mix style, but each character has fixed war gear and skills associated with it. There's no customization of that character, with the exception of one or two, which it tends to be a specialist weapon person. And it's like, you can have the flamer one, you can have the sniper rifle one, for example, things like that. And sometimes you can take multiples of those. And I suspect maybe Blood Bowl's going down that route where it's like, cool, you got your box, maybe you're picking one blitzer instead of two, and or having two catchers instead of one or something, and maybe there's still a tiny bit of choice, but it feels like that's potentially just completely going away for the convenience of just buying one box.
Yeah, I just don't like it, mate. Like, the thing is in the past, the one box that you used to buy could make a team that would cost your gold limit, your million gold, whatever it may be. And that was fine, right? You'd be like, cool, I could make a team out of what's in this box. But if I want to take it to the next level, I want to inject my own personality into it, I want to do my own thing. Maybe I'm really into throwers. Maybe I'm really into catchers. Maybe I want to lean into those things. Maybe I want to add in some, loners. I want to get in some ogres or trolls or star players. And I'm sure, obviously, they're going to enable you to obviously put the star players and loners in still, because obviously they're a core part of the retail proposition.
So they said things like the goblin specialist weapons, or teams that have extra positionals that are already sold separately. So the bull centaurs for Chaos Dwarves is a prime example. They come in resin as separate. They're all staying. The only team that's like the exception to the rule is ogres, where you're still basically allowed to buy 2 boxes of ogres if you want more ogres than the nobblers, the snotlings, things.
It just sounds terrible, mate. Honestly, it's not what they need to do. Like, it's a very, very, very odd decision that I get, like, what they've been doing in Age of Sigmar and 40k. They go, cool, what's in the box is what you get, and that's it. Buy 2 boxes, it's a reinforced unit. Buy 2 boxes, it's a unit 10 rather than unit 5. There are some exceptions to that, but ultimately that's the simple system they've gone with in those games. Kill Team, Warcry, they've done that same thing. Did they need to do it with Blood Bowl? I guess they think they do, because they're probably looking at their sales of these kits, and then they're probably incorrectly correlating the success of those sales to the fact that they've simplified it, and then ultimately they're thinking, well, it works for all these other systems, it's part of our business philosophy, we're going to just carry on with it here. But Blood Bowl is one of those games where the devil is in the detail, and these are campaign game systems. They're not Kill Team, they're not Warcry, they're not this kind of stuff. And I don't know, man, it feels like a massive miss. And again, without wanting to be kind of hyperbolic, the exact sort of insight or change that makes me go, cool, I don't want to play it. Like, I'll just stick with what I have. Like, yeah. I don't want to be like a lunatic, but I genuinely, hearing that, I'm like, okay, cool, I don't need this. Like, I don't want it. Like, if that's where they're going to do it, I'll carry on playing my current version of Blood Bowl. Which, by the way, I think is inferior to the one that came before it. I think the 2016 release is great, and I just think that's the one that people should keep playing. But to be fair to it, the 2020 release, or whatever it was, the last one, is fine. It's actually good in most cases, because it's not dramatically different from the one they did in 2016. They just cleared up a few bits and pieces. But yeah, like, honestly, really...
It feels like it's potentially not just change for change's sake, but more change for business reasons, as opposed to for the benefit of the actual game itself. Potentially they've gone, maybe it's better for onboarding, but as you were saying, AOS and 40k have a lot more simplified. What you buy is in the box, and literally no one likes it, right? I mean, I'm sure there are some people that will think it's a great and handy idea, but personally, I prefer the days of I get more customization out of my game. I want points in 40k for wall gear. I want that nuance and granularity. And I would have thought some people would like it in Blood Bowl. Is it?
Well, is it better than they love it?
Well, here's the thing: is it frustrating that I would have to buy a second box of a particular Blood Bowl team if I want to play the more competitive, optimal build of a particular team? That would be a bit frustrating. They did start off very early doors doing resin positionals for those extra minis, and potentially they could have gone, yeah, cool, we'll do an extra, like, a few sculpts as a mini plastic sprue upgrade, because Necromunda can get away with some gang upgrades in plastic. So could they have done that here instead of this more simplified approach? Possibly, but I presume maybe it's just a business case reason of let's just make it onboarding. Because I guess it is, especially imagine if someone comes in new to Blood Bowl and they say, what do I need to buy the box? And someone says, well, you can buy this, but what you really need to do is buy it twice. And you'll be like, oh, that feels a bit rubbish. So it's great for new people, but it's bad for experienced players. I think that's ultimately the take and the direction. And
yeah,
we're in the experienced player camp, even though we don't play Blood Bowl a huge amount.
I think the complexity of it. I think the complexity of it is the fact that it is not a decision that benefits or excites their existing fan base, right? So again, why I think that's a mistake is because you're not going to bring them on the journey with you, and if you're not bringing in your old players, you're relying on the churn of the new players, and that works in 40k because you can disrupt and disappoint grizzled old vets like you and I in 40k and have a new crop of, people come up through the ranks to take your place. That's not a problem. 40k has reached such a level of notoriety that it can do that. Blood Bowl, I don't think, works on that same level of credibility. I don't think it has the same clout. Much in the same way as, like, and again, by the way, I've seen comments about my grumblings about Horus Heresy at this point where people think that I'm wrong on that point. So I'll concede that I've not played it. It's a dead system as far as I'm concerned. But obviously, if you like it, great, good. I don't care for it. But I think the thing is, what you're potentially seeing, or at least I'm observing with Heresy, is that 2 years ago, loads of people, at least around me, were playing Heresy all the time. Today, hardly anyone is. And I think the reason for that is because they kind of upset or disgruntled their established fan base, and Heresy, even though it's 40k adjacent, doesn't do a good enough job of recruiting new players as 40k does. So I think Heresy has got a bit of an uphill struggle because it's alienated its core fan base, or at least a lot of the people I know who were playing Heresy don't play it anymore. And now we're in a situation where they're trying to obviously continue to work with the real diehards that want to stick with it, but then also try and bring in new people who seemingly would rather play 40k. But anyway, my point is, I think Blood Bowl was in a weird spot like that because I don't think that's a good thing. Because, I mean, for example, at the club, we were talking about doing a Blood Bowl league. We've just wrapped up a recent Blood Bowl league, and it was fantastic. It was a great season. Everyone had a great time. We've postponed the starting of the next league because we wanted to basically support the new edition. I'd love to have a conversation with, like, Jody and the guys who are chairing that and see what they think now, because, like, obviously they're quite measured. They'll probably say something to the effect of, let's wait till we actually read the actual rules. Let's not be quick to judge. But I can imagine the initial vibe is, that doesn't sound like what we're looking for.
Here's the thing. Teams aren't balanced currently. They are
And that's not a
tiered
problem.
in terms of how good they are. So it's like, you know that if you're playing Dwarves, you're playing not an A team tier or team 1 tier. I can't remember how they rank it, but you're playing
I think, yeah.
one of the middle ones. If you're playing like Elves, you're probably playing the A team. And if you're playing the Stunties or the Ogres, you're literally at the bottom of the barrel, and you know you're not going to win games, but you'll have fun if you do. That's sort of the ranking of Blood Bowl. Now, you could argue that by removing some of the choices of team composition and mucking around with some of the stats, you can more accurately balance teams amongst each other. I don't think this is what they're going to do, but you could make the argument that we're going to muck around with some of the stats because we've got a limited pool of your roster selection. So now we can try and balance all the teams to be completely balanced with each other. That would generally be a bold take, but I think an interesting one, because, you know, I love playing my Stunties, but it is frustrating that they're just not a good team, that they are a bad team, and I'm only having a balanced, competitive, fair shot at winning with other Stunty teams. Unless you go completely skew and take loads of treatment and try and win that way. But even then, it's an uphill struggle, right? So if they were to do it on that sort of premise, I sort of admire the logic behind it. If they are doing it, still tweaking some of the stats, but still acknowledging that there's this tiering system, then you're not really changing anything. And here's the thing: these stats have been play tested pretty much for like 20 years now. Very little has changed over the course of Blood Bowl's history, except for the very early days, and things have been tweaked here and there. But if you are fundamentally removing positions or the number of positionals from a team and then changing lots of stats within teams, you are literally kind of kicking a bucket up in the air, and it's not indexing Blood Bowl like 7th to 8th edition 40k is, but it's kind of a close comparison in terms of this will only have been play tested by a limited selection of people within Games Workshop's specialist games division. It won't be anywhere near as play tested once the edition comes out. So my point is, chances are stuff's going to be wrong, and this edition is just ushering in a new edition in 3 years' time that will try and probably tweak some of those fixes. Now, it might be that they will do it via FAQs to either change stats, or they might just do it to change the costs of things. So, you know, some things become cheaper and some things become more expensive. But if you have but maybe that won't affect too much, because, you know, it's not like in 40k or AOS where you can spend some extra spare money on some additional bonuses. There are elements to that in Blood Bowl, but it's nowhere near as optimal. You can't just squeeze in an extra little thing if you save a couple of gold here and there on a team. So yeah, I mean, that will be interesting to see how it shakes out once we see what changes have been made and more seasoned players actually get to either just say their opinions or get to play it themselves and then let the wider community know. Because I don't want to be negative about stuff, but I thought I'd bring up the Blood Bowl one because it's an interesting sort of direction that they are taking that might upset the apple cart, so to speak.
Oh, I'd be amazed if it hasn't. Again, I've not been following it. As I said, I hadn't heard about it beforehand. But again, even with my relatively limited exposure to Blood Bowl, I feel qualified to state that it doesn't sound like the kind of thing that Blood Bowl players are looking for. But
Blood Bowl fans don't like change.
No, God, no. I mean, like, many of them still play the old 90s rules and think that that is the way to go. But again, that is because of, much like the fantasy players, they were kind of abandoned for ages, right? Like GW kind of just left Blood Bowl alone. It was picked up by the community and, you know, endured for many years. And, you know, today it's got a real die-hard and beloved fan base who think it's one of the best games that GW make, and if you change that is only going to be a negative, I think.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm sure the community has grown since the 2016 or whatever it was version of Blood Bowl. Is the game any better? I mean, possibly, but not fundamentally. It's just different and tweaked here and there, and maybe you've clarified things like some of the rules and stuff like that. But the thing that has been the real driving force behind new players isn't necessarily new additional better rules. It's just Games Workshop has produced models. Games Workshop has made models in plastic. Prior to plastic, the newer editions of Blood Bowl, effectively Blood Bowl 1, because actually the Blood Bowl edition that we're on now is probably more like 7, but they reset the numbers in the 2010s to Blood Bowl 1. Prior to that, everyone was basically buying third-party sculpts or 3D prints, maybe. Like Games Workshop wasn't selling or supporting the miniature line, so you had to go off script. But doing the new miniature range is the thing that has probably given people impetus to get into the game. And they could have done that and effectively not touched the rules at all, but yeah, I feel like we're getting into this weird 3-year churn with specialist game stuff now as well, where the little rules tweaking here and there is showing. And maybe it's for the better, like in Horus Heresy 3, for example, but maybe it's not.
Maybe. I mean, again,
but who knows?
I'm completely unqualified to say what's better or worse when it comes to some of these games, because I'm not an active enough player of it. I just think, as I say, I stated my case quite a few times in terms of what I feel like the situation is with Heresy, and I'm, voting with my wallet on that one in so much as I've moved on from it. Again, not to yuck people's yum, but if you like it, good for you. But personally, I'm disappointed with what it turned into, and I don't want to play it, so I don't. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. I just don't. But when it comes to the Blood Bowl stuff, I'm like, okay, cool. It's going to really come down to how this impacts the overall campaign system and what you can do with it. If it produces a fun, compelling gameplay experience, fine. Maybe we can look past it. But I imagine, as a statement of intent, it seems like it will have a detrimental effect on the overall kind of way the game has been played.
Yeah, but like I was just going to say one other thing. Like they have announced that they've sort of, that as part of the tidying up of rules, they've kind of clarified some status effects, and with that they've produced like a set of tokens that go around your base room, which is a cool addition. Yeah, cool. And things like what is it when you have, is it Thick Skull, I think, or maybe Loner? No, it's not Thick Skull. It's something like Loner, or you're basically really stupid. That's it, really stupid. Yeah. And you fail those rolls, or you've been hypnotized by a vampire. They're all now categorized as like distracted, which is basically abilities where you like lose your tackle zone. So they've kind of harmonized some terminologies. So I feel like that's a sort of a general improvement for the state of the game, without really changing anything. And likewise, with the little tokens that you can put around the base rims, which might be a little bit fiddly when it comes to a scrum line, but otherwise would be quite straightforward. These are nice quality of life additions. You have ones that can also mark when your player's knocked down, rather than having to put your model on its side, which they were saying is quite difficult for big guys and, star players, all lovely painted models. So those things I don't have a problem with at all. I think, you could almost, they're just good quality of life changes that you can almost do. I say almost, without a rules change, without a new addition. But the fact that you are quantifying some rules into sort of categories, almost like the keyword system, unfortunately does mean, new rules and things like that. But that's a much more minor improvement to the game than saying, oh yeah, we're taking a load of stuff out because you're just buying one box. Like, that feels like a much bigger change.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff is really cool. I mean, stuff that people within the community were doing anyway. Like, those kind of things.
Yeah,
were being
it's what
made
is a
available by
third-party person doing, and Games Workshop doing it themselves.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'm not shocked that it seems like they're dropping the ball with Blood Bowl, pun entirely intended. But we'll see. At the end of the day, it's... Look, Blood Bowl's got a fantastic range. It's a great game. It's definitely worth supporting. But I think the 3-year cycle within the specialist game space is definitely starting to show some signs of weakness when it comes to what it offers to consumers. Like, the value isn't really worth the loss, as it were. Like, I think you lose more than you gain in this
I've
situation.
seen lots of people say, oh, my Spike magazines have gone. And I had a similar thing with the first edition Blood Bowl. I collected some of the Spike magazines, and originally I was trying to collect all the teams, much like Sean was doing, I think, for a while. And then eventually stopped because I realised, oh, this is too much. But yeah, so it's like that card deck. It's like, I had that to play my Chaos Dwarves. I was planning to do it either, probably not this year, but probably next year. I would have been like, okay, cool, I can dig out the cards, I can build the team, I can play some games. And now it's like, okay, cool, I've literally got a paperweight of a deck of cards now. Unless I find someone like you that would just be happy playing an older edition of the game. And there are people that
which
would
might
have
not be that hard, by the way.
Well, possibly true, yeah. And it's like, it might have been, the fact that you suddenly have a bunch of paperweights, whether that's from the Spike journals or the books or the almanacs, because you collected those. The fact that they're effectively being made redundant and being replaced is really frustrating, I think. And that's to me the kicker. I think to this day, Necromunda is the standout way of selling a boxed game every few years without really fundamentally upsetting anyone. You're not rewriting the rules. You maybe they've produced one core rulebook in hardback, I think 3 or 4 years ago, which made some improvements and tweaks and sort of basically FAQ'd everything in one place. But basically every few years they do a different box set, and it's just in a different setting. And sometimes it's effectively an expansion, so they add on some extra rules and they give you a new like campaign system. But it's still completely cross-compatible with all your old stuff. None of your old stuff, except the very like original rulebook, is really redundant. And I feel like they could have kept doing that with Blood Bowl. Like they don't need to really change, fundamental core rules. And they could have just been, could have just kept adding to their library of stuff.
Yeah, agreed. I think that would have been a better approach for sure. On the topic of change and things, actually, I was going to just go back to the pre-orders and the fact that Pat Butcher is gone on pre-order, i.e. Terminator Marnie's Calgar. It occurred to me as well, Phil, while I was at Warhammer World, there have been so many Calgar models that, assuming that they update Marnie's Calgar on the giant diorama at Warhammer World, in the time that giant diorama has been at Warhammer World, this will be the third new Marnie's Calgar sculpt that will be on top of that cathedral.
Because did it originally have the classic Terminator sculpt version?
It did, yeah. It had classic Terminator. I remember when they put in new Primaris Calgar. I remember being in there the weekend they did it, and someone stating, "Oh God, they put Primaris Calgar in there," and the room booed. Such was their disappointment at Primaris Calgar at the time. And now, obviously, we're in a situation where they could well go back in there and swap out Calgar once more.
Yeah, that is true. That is. I generally hope that both versions will be viable. Like, I don't think the Primaris one's a great sculpt, but I like the idea of having two versions of him based on his armor. That feels completely fitting for him.
Pet peeve for me is the new Victrix Honor Guard kit doesn't have the option of the loadout for the old ones.
Oh, what, the swords and shields?
Sword and shields.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's the alternative build. It does have them.
Do they?
I'm pretty sure it does. I thought it did.
I thought they basically had bolt gun and axes.
Oh, is it axes? Oh, no, there is a... Wait, is it axes and shields?
No, it's swords and shields is the original Victrix Honor Guard things.
Hold on, let me find the pre-order page. Because when they talked about it...
I mean, maybe, just maybe, they'll put the rules in that you can still use them, but it's just a bit weird that there wasn't an option.
Because I'm sure there's an old build of weapon options, and one of them was with shields.
Well, if that's the case, fair enough, because at least then, basically, the Victrix Honor Guard can still be taken in two-man units and can still have swords and shields. So I'd hate to see them invalidate the old stuff straight away. My suspicion is that's what they're doing, but I guess we'll wait and see.
Well, the fact that you buy them, don't you buy them in a box of three now? Yeah. So potentially they will invalidate it just by the fact that the squad size is going from 2 to 3.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, swords and... Yeah, sorry, axes and bolters.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was an alternative version with shields.
Maybe. I just can't see it.
But you're right, I've just found the original article and it's not there.
Oh, fun. So
maybe I made that up.
Bit of a weirdness, but yeah, my suspicion is you'll still probably be able to use the old Calgar model, but the Victrix will probably get gone. The new Terminator stuff's all really cool though. Love the ancient, love the Assault Terminator, so that's all good stuff. Yeah, just interesting that we're seeing those changes. The Ultramarines Combat Patrol is all sorts of odd, because they've done the classic GW thing of Reavers, anyone? Anyone for Reavers? It's like, no, you're all right. I don't really want any more Reavers, thank you. But Reavers you shall have, as well as Aggressors, which are actually quite good. It's just the kit's quite weird now. Intercessors, which are, again, fine. And the Blade Guard, which is still a great unit, right? You can't really fault Blade Guard, but yeah. Having Reavers in their combat patrol is like, yay, Reavers again. What a treat.
I mean, someone's got to buy them.
Someone's got to buy them. Buy those Reavers, gosh darn you.
I just realised with the Victrix Honor Guard, the alternative builds are the, was it like the Champion and stuff like that, isn't it?
Yes, correct, yeah.
Yeah. So, the shield idea I just imagined.
Changing topic slightly from Reavers to Marauders, the new Marauders for Old World look pretty, don't they?
They are really nice. So they're
very cool.
Like the second new faction with like all new plastic sculpts after Cafe. I guess
they're not a whole faction, right? They're just two units that essentially can be added to a Warriors of Chaos army in place of the old Marauders, I believed. But they have they have their own specific...
They've got an Arcane Journal, though, so you can play them as its own thing.
Yes, correct, yeah. But I imagine you need quite a lot of them to get that done.
Yes, I would imagine. Although, so as someone has pointed out, the artwork for the Arcane Journal has pictures of old sculpts in them. So one of them's like a skull-headed, like maybe a priest or something, a wizard on horseback. I think he's on the right-hand side of the image, and it's like a super old sculpt, so that will probably come back for made to order. And then someone's pointed out that the giants in the back are the old plastic giant kits, so that will likely be coming back. So this will have more models than what we're just seeing in the box set previewed here for like the army range. So there should be more stuff to go via some internet sleuths.
Yeah, indeed. But the Marauders are really, really sexy.
Stunning.
That kind of Norse, Viking, marauding horde is, phenomenal.
Well, they're called Dark Oath now in AOS, aren't they?
In AOS, they're Dark Oath, but yes, in the world of old, they're still Chaos Marauders, right? So,
there's just something about a big blob of. It's not necessarily square bases. It's the fact that once they're all amassed as a big block, they feel like almost like one miniature. They're like a diorama. They feel like they're a real unit. And even with AOS, you just don't get that sense of the crowded space that you're fighting in, because in AOS everything's like in stringed lines with an inch coherency,
half an inch.
I'm just cheating then, obviously. No, I'm thinking 40k is 2 inch, but everything's sort of a bit more stringed out and spaced out, and whereas this feels really dense, and that just makes it so much more evocative from like a visualization of the game in your mind's eye. And these models are just like phenomenal.
Yeah, they're great. I think it's awesome that we're starting to see some really nice new additions to the old world. The only thing that's weird, I suppose, is as obviously time goes on and these newer kits come into existence, how they interact with the old established kits. Because I had that as someone who's went out and got themselves a Tomb King army. I was looking at the new Tomb King sculpts that were on display at Warhammer World this weekend, and I was just like, I just don't think I can really justify picking these up because they're so different from how the rest of my army looks.
Because your army's mostly old?
With the exception of the Bone Dragon, like it's all old, basically. So yeah, having these newer sculpts alongside sort of just feels a bit odd.
Yes, but basically everything old is going to be redone as new. Eventually. It's just a stopgap, it feels very much like. And in a way, I think that's great because it means people get to play with old miniatures, have some nostalgia for them. And I think they still hold up very well if they're just painted half decent. But I think, it's that sort of Primaris versus Firstborn. It's like if you have a bunch of the newer sculpts alongside some of the older sculpts, maybe that's when you start to notice the difference. Whereas if I was playing an old army versus a new army, maybe it's not as bad. Or if we're both playing old armies together, that's perfectly fine as well because you don't notice the difference then. But yeah, it's when it's mixed in with your army you start to notice it a bit.
Yeah, and that's why I've sort of leaned out of picking up those. Although I did get the new Arcane Journal, and it seems quite fun in terms of the whole kind of setting of it and all the rest of it. I need to finish actually digesting it. I literally just started reading through some of the army list compositions and other things. So I went straight to the rules rather than the fluff. So I'll spend a bit more time with that.
Classic, Dan. Classic.
I know, classic. Yeah, well, I only picked it up today, so
not fair.
Yeah, I'll get to grips with it soon. But yeah, I think that pretty much covers
there's
all
one
the
more thing, Dan.
Oh yes, of course.
More fantasy. We're going to talk about
more
Warhammer
fantasy.
Quest.
Warhammer Quest.
So there was a leak, and Games Workshop. I wasn't even aware of.
Was there a leak? Was that why they released the images?
Yeah. So I believe it. I don't know if it was a potato cam image, but it had some Japanese or Chinese on it. So it came out, I think, maybe from one of their social media teams out in the East. So they then put out their potato cam image. This is like effectively the Barbra Streisand effect. It's like, in terms of acknowledging a leak and answering it, more people had seen it than if they had just ignored it completely. Maybe it would have done the rounds and I'd have eventually seen it, but this time I had not seen it. So yeah, they put out an image showing a photo of the boxed contents. It's a bit blurry, and then they said, vote on the models you would like to see. And then so far they previewed 2 models, which is the Bretonian-esque knight, who's a Cities of Sigmar type character, and then the dwarven axe wielder character are the 2 that they have shown. But I think the key takeaway, the key point of interest is that it looks like the board is no longer a tiled system. It is a book that you flip through to show your dungeon tile.
Where is that image of this book?
It is, well, when you zoom in, it's on the, hold on, let's find the post to show you, but it's on the reveal of the image. It's on the boxed contents.
Which image am I looking at? The new dwarf or the...
No, it's prior to that. It's called New Warhammer Quest Heroes Enhance. So it's an image of, in the preview, the 4 little characters as artwork there in the article. If you click on that, it shows you a slightly blurry image, and you would be forgiven for thinking it is actually just... a single tiled board, but if you zoom in slightly, you can see the thickness of the pages, the spine in the middle, and the thickness of the hardback book, which, newsflash, Games Workshop, hardback books do not open flat. So this format was popularized by Jaws of the Lion, which was a spin-off of another game that I can't recall off the top of my head, but Jaws of the Lion was the sort of smaller scaled version of the game, and that had, I believe, a ring-bound book which allowed you to flip through the dungeons. And I played a couple of games of that. That was quite interesting. The thing I would say with that sort of mechanic where you have like a 1-room dungeon, or it was maybe like 2 or 3, because there would be like pinch points where it's like a door that's locked until you kill everyone in your current room and then it sort of opens up. The thing I found with that is there wasn't much to the dungeon. It's not dungeon exploring. You're doing these individual missions set in one big room. But the mechanics of how your character played was the complexity that took the time playing the game, because it was like a card-based system where you would have a bunch of cards that you would like look through and you'd be choosing what you're doing each turn. Whereas this is obviously going to be much more of a, I assume, more like the, Black Stone Fortress. It's, you got some characters and you're rolling some dice and it's a bit more speedy. So, yeah, I'd be interesting to see how it plays. What I have also noticed is it looks like along the top of the book edge, there's a bunch of tokens which might indicate some kind of player order being randomized, much like Jaws of the Lion, where that's also randomized, or you get some influence in it, right? You can be like, I'm going to do a very powerful thing and it will make me go first, or I'm doing a very defensive thing and it'll make me go last in like the team ranking order, and then the enemies are prescribed a certain ranking that determines the order between you and the enemy. So they might be doing something here by the looks of it where, me as the dwarf, I'll go first, and then an enemy, Bestigor, I assume, will go next, and then Dan, you as the knight, will go after that. So it's not just all the humans are going first, followed by all the AI enemy. It might be a bit more to and fro, which would be quite interesting if that's the case. And that's what I've only just spotted now in terms of those little tokens positioned along the top of the booklet.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how they manage to create a flat, cohesive gaming space in a book format. I imagine there are methodologies by which you can do it. Obviously, a ring-bound book makes the most sense, but the problem is with that is I guess it doesn't create...
It looks a bit ugly.
Yeah, it doesn't create a consistent, clear image. So you'd have to come up with some way where your double-page spread...
has a bit of wiggle room in it, I guess, to then shift and lie flat. I mean, if it is generally a hardback book, that would be really impressive. If it can lie flat... it might be just a Photoshop mock-up and that it's not actually a hardback book.
Yeah, I would imagine it isn't. But then again, the way you bind it's going to be really interesting. But again, I'm sure they've solved that somehow, some way, to kind of give a decent gaming experience. Conceptually, it's great, right? Like the idea of having a big book on the shelf and being able to pull it out and be like, oh, this is the thing. I mean, again, if I was doing the packaging and the designing for this, I'd lean into it even more and then have like a kind of book within a book where there's like a binder and then there are like compartments where the miniatures go and you can have it as like a big kind of like tome that sits on the shelf.
So Jaws of the Lion, if I recall, had basically for your hero miniatures had little boxes that you could put them away in, and you had little like decks that you could put your cards in, because basically you customize your abilities via the cards, and then you could basically store them away for the next game. So all your tokens and stuff that you unlocked, because it was what was it called, a legacy style game where stuff would grow. You'd unpack extra cards as you leveled up and stuff like that. All of that would carry on with you. And obviously, Blackstone Fortress had elements to that, so we might see some of those things there. What it also had was a map. So you started off basically doing mission 1. Here is where your first mission is, which is obviously turned to page 2. You would do that, and then once you completed that, you got like a sticker that you could then add on to the map to unlock the next location. And then sometimes you would have choices to go, okay, cool, we're going to speak to the man at the inn, and by doing that, instead of chasing someone down an alleyway, you maybe unlock a different location on the map to go through. So there's a bit of narrative storytelling happening. It'll be interesting if that is a similar thing here, where you have your village that you start in, and you do a one-off mission, much like you do in Blackstone Fortress. You go into the Blackstone Fortress, you set up the map, which takes a lot of time. You play that map because there's no unfolding tiles. It's all pre-laid out for you. I believe that's the same with Curse City. Then you complete that. Then you go back to your town or your spaceship. You do your end game actions, and then you go off on another mission, and you have to reset everything up again. So the fact that you can just literally turn a page and you'll be like, cool, here I am now. That's my mission. It will take us half an hour to an hour to play through, done, and we can play several of those as part of like a campaign sequence. That seems quite fun. The alternative, of course, is it is much more like a choose your own adventure, and it's this is just a room that you play, and then once you've done that one, you then turn to page 42 and play the next room, and maybe you play like 5 different rooms as part of a dungeon crawl, so to speak. Because I think that the thing people like about Warhammer Quest is to me, I loved the tile aspect of the original Warhammer Quest. I liked going, I'm drawing a card, this is my corridor, this is my room, and you don't know what's in front of you. It's all procedurally generated, whereas I feel like Curse City and Blackstone Fortress pulled away from that, and it was like these preset dungeons, and then this is a sort of simplified version of that.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you build the structure of the gameplay and you create the idea that, you're in an area doing a thing, fighting, and again, it depends how they create it, because they could incorporate some D&D-esque roleplay elements where you are transitioning from area to area and playing your characters in more of a role-playing fashion. Certainly Warhammer Quest advanced, kind of expanded rules dabbled with some of those ideas, as you would go to like towns and things to trade and do whatever. So they incorporated a lot of those, tabletop role-playing elements into the adventure as well. The dungeon being one component of it, but other aspects coming into play. So they could be exploring it that way as you transition from place to place and then you enter a particular encounter. I'd be in favour of that. I think, there's definitely an opportunity for Warhammer Quest to offer more of a kind of light RPG, D&D type experience. And we'll see what they do. I think at the end of the day, you don't want to go too far into role play because you don't want to alienate the really, really core dungeon style gaming experiences, but also I guess you don't want to be too limited by having a system that requires you to be quite static in the way that the dungeon plays out. But I like it conceptually. I think, again, I'm intrigued by this game. It intrigues me.
Like the fact that it's not a dungeon crawler is a bit that upsets me, because that's what I loved about the original Warhammer Quest. You know, even Hero Quest, which had a preset board, it was still sort of a dungeon crawler because you didn't really know what was around every corner because the maps were different each time. Whereas I feel like, having not played Curse City, but I got the impression that Curse City and Blackstone Fortress are quite similar, where the board's different every time, but it's preset in front of you, so you know exactly where everything is, because there is no like dungeon master setting it up for you like you had in Hero Quest. So it's a shame that that's going, from my assumption of this, and this is obviously just speculation, because as you said, it might be, you know, you do several of these pages to form a sort of dungeon crawl, so to speak. But the convenience of just being, cool, let's play a game, pull out the book, turn to a page, plonk it down, no setup time whatsoever, other than gathering your miniatures and your friends, which is obviously the hardest part. That actually is quite appealing, I think. And if it's a sort of not quite micro version of Warhammer Quest, but a sort of quicker, streamlined version, potentially that's much better, because it's like, okay, I don't need a whole day to play it. I can play it in my lunch break or whatever. Again, who has friends in their lunch break? No one, except people at Warhammer World. But yeah, some of the aspects I think is actually quite positive and quite interesting. I'd love to see more. Obviously, they're still going on their teasers of showing off the characters, and the two sculpts that they've shown off so far are phenomenal. They look really good, and again, harken back to more classic Warhammer tropes. Not even classic Warhammer, classic like Tolkien-esque generic fantasy models, which I think in a way is the appeal, and should really be maybe what this is. Is this a gateway game for non-Warhammer players, your generic board game people, to get into Warhammer as a setting? Because I think Curse City did possibly an okay job at that, but maybe is still too big a game. You needed lots of table space. This is much more like you can play it down the pub with your mates, sort of vibe, or a board games cafe or a board games club, without needing huge space, a huge amount of time. So all of those things I think could be really strong and appealing.
Yeah, don't disagree with anything you said there, mate. I think it's really cool how they're leaning into the sort of traditional fantasy tropes, and the fact that they're also still keeping it in AOS is really promising. And I think certainly it's weird, isn't it? I guess the evolution of AOS is more that as time goes on, maybe it becomes more like what it left behind, at least in terms of some of the visuals, etc.
Yeah, I think so, which is sort of really ironic. The fantasy has also come back, so it's like they're having their cake and eating it and doing it twice, because it would make more sense if AOS went to the mad extremes of really strange, wacky races, and they left the more, in air quotes, grounded fantasy to Warhammer, the old world. But it feels like AOS wants a bit of that pie as well, and that they're sort of double dipping. And maybe that's a deliberate choice for them, because they know, cool, we can sell Hellsmiths of Hashut, the classic Chaos Dwarves, to old world players that want to play that army, but we won't release an army for it. But we know that there's a level of cross compatibility, but we're not going to acknowledge that in any way. But we're just going to do it on the down low.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're definitely dining out. They are eating all the cake.
I did hear a while ago that there was a theory that at some point this was meant to be much more codified between the two systems, because the Sunstealer Wheelers had Sunstealer Wheelers had a character that looks exactly like and named after the same character from one of the Old World books, which was a Wolf Rider Goblin Khan model, and it was like the same person, same name, same design, and so it gives credence to that theory that at some point it was meant to be a shared model range, until someone threw their toys out of the pram and decided to not make that happen.
Which is a shame in a way, because I think they would have probably have had a bit of a better time. Although at the moment their rules are quite interesting and they've got some viability in AOS, but they definitely didn't get off to the best start. But the range is beautiful. The only issue being, obviously, is that they're incredibly detailed and incredibly gorgeous sculpts, but you need to pay for that,
but it would sort of explain why it feels like they're sort of backtracking slightly by having more classic fantasy ranges in AOS, whereas historically we were getting mad things like Fire Slayers and Caradhran Overlords and stuff like that, whereas now it's like classic sort of like Grave Lords, classic vampires, classic goblin, wolf riders, stuff like that.
Yeah, it has definitely toned down lately, which I don't hate, but at the same time, still love them to continue doing some of the wacky stuff as well. But anyway, there you go. There was a lot of talk about a lot of things. Anything else you wanted to touch upon, buddy, or should we call it there?
I think we've talked about everything that I can think of. Is there anything you would like to talk about?
No, well, I mean, so many things, but nothing that I'll bore our listeners with any more than I have done already. Good luck to you and Richie this weekend, Phil. I hope you smash it and come away with all the prizes. It would be wonderful for you and Richie to emerge victorious. But, good luck with that. And then, otherwise, looking forward to getting back together next week and do it all again. But, until then, I suppose we'll just say goodbye. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Bye.